Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we are here with something a little bit different. Now, it's been no secret in recent weeks, I've been fairly critical of F124 and today that's set to continue because we are here on what I believe might be the F124 killer. Yesterday, we're going to be testing out Automobilista 2, a sim title that I'm sure people that kind of in the sim racing space will absolutely have heard of. But if you're just kind of playing the F1 game, you might not have ever experienced what this game is really like. So today, I'm going to be showcasing it to you and kind of talking why, if obviously F124 isn't everything you wanted it to be, and if you're on PC, why this game might be one you need to try. Now, first and foremost then, of course, we've got to talk about the price of the game. Automobilista 2 is £35 relative to the either 50 or even 70 that you'll pay for F124. However, I would hold off. It's usually on sale on Steam at 50% off, so I would pick the game up the next time it is at £17. But ultimately, yeah, you not only do you get kind of the F1 cars, you get a lot of other stuff as well. As you can see, GT3s, touring cars, rallycross cars. This game really does genuinely cover all the bases. But of course, yeah, we are most interested in the Formula cars today. And boy, oh boy, has it got a variety of them. You can see, first of all, we have obviously got the Ultimate Formula, the Razer Studios Formula Ultimate Gen 2. And then you can see, well, what else have we got? We've got the Formula Ultimate Gen 1. So this is based off of, obviously, of the Formula 1 cars from kind of 2017 to 2021. And then there's even more. We've got the Formula Classic Gen 1 car, which are kind of based on late 80s, early 90s Formula 1 cars. And then you can see, again, we've got a slightly more updated version from the early 1990s. We've got the Gen 2 car, which are kind of, as we went through the huge technical updates throughout the mid-1990s as well. So I believe these are meant to be based on roughly 1992, 1993. Then we got the Gen 3 car, which again just seems to be a tiny bit more of a step forward again. You can see we've got the V10 Williams there. Williams in air quotes, of course, from 1992, 1993. And then we've got the Gen 4 car as well. So these were, you know, the ridiculous, some of the V12s, things like that. Obviously, you can see loosely based on the Benetton from 1995. We've also got, the Formula Inter, whatever that is. We've got Formula Junior, which obviously, yeah, it's just a little bit more of like a smaller kind of junior car for learning. We've got the Formula Razer, which I believe was the kind of V8 car, the end of 2013 era of Formula 1, of course, when Sebastian Vettel was absolutely dominating. We've got the Formula Retro Gen 3, which you can see kind of based on the mid-70s, so, James Hunt, Niki Lauda, battling it out for those world championships. Sadly, no Tyrrell six-wheeler, which is, I guess, is a little bit of a shame there. And you can see, yeah, the official McLaren M23 as well, which obviously James Hunt won that 1976 world title. You've then got, cars from kind of the later 70s, early 80s with the ground effect Lotus, for example. Formula Retro Gen 3. So this is taking you kind of into the early 90s, or mid-80s even, with the original McLaren MP4 car. There's a lot. There's a lot in this game, and of course, yeah, like I said, the Formula Ultimate Gen 1, Gen 2. You've got V10 Formula 1 cars, obviously including the McLaren MP4-12 from 1998, I believe. The Formula V10 Gen 2 car, so this is kind of the early 2000s, traction control, screaming V10s. The Formula V12 car as well, so that is, again, kind of, I believe that's meant to be based on the last V12 F1 car, the Ferrari, from 1995. And I'll be honest, yeah, when I started this list, I kind of forgot just how many there are. Formula Vintage! We've got 1960s Formula 1 cars as well, a little bit further on as well. And then we've got the Gen 2 cars, which are kind of the late 1960s, early into the 1970s, including, yeah, the classic Lotus 49C. That genuinely, I'd forgot how many Formula cars there are. So if you miss the classic cars from the F1 game, instantly, Automobilista 2 is the way to go. Now, when it comes to tracks as well, obviously, this game isn't, you know, an official Formula 1 title or anything like that, so you don't quite get all of the F1 circuits. You can see we have got Monaco, though, first of all, but you even get some classic F1 circuits as well. The Adelaide is thrown in there, Brands Hatch, obviously, is in there, Buenos Aires is in there. You can see, obviously, we've got a few other names you might recognise, Cadwell Park, Donington. For those of you that don't know, Automobilista is actually made by some Brazilian dev team, so you actually get a lot of tracks that you probably never heard of unless you live in Brazil or follow kind of the Brazilian stock car series and things like that. You've even got obviously Hockenheim, including, yep, look at that, the classic version of the Hockenheim ring as well. Obviously Imola, Interlagos, obviously two current venues, Jerez, Kyalami, Montreal, Nürburgring. Admittedly, yeah, there aren't too many of the modern Formula 1 circuits or the current Formula 1 circuits on the calendar, but most of them are pretty lackluster street circuits, so I don't lose too much sleep over that. Well, I'll be honest, I hadn't actually originally intended to do this, but, you know, whenever there's an excuse to take a V10 Formula 1 car here to Monaco, you take that chance. So we're just going to do a couple of laps here in the early 2000s version of the F1 car. Of course, you don't get, as you would have seen, as many kind of fully licensed cars inside the sim, but there are still, yeah, they're really, really good fun. Now, Automobilista 2 is actually based on the Project Cars handling model, which immediately I know will kind of turn some of you away from the game, but I made a video on this game many, many years ago, and I kind of said then how what they've done is obviously taken that handling model and just made it better in pretty much every perceivable way. This game, I tell you what, is so much fun. Now, obviously, if you have only really played the F1 titles, it is going to be more difficult. You know, it is a much more challenging sim. Whoa! That's immediately we go and find out there, doing a little bit of a snap. Maybe that's our Michael Schumacher impression from 2004 at this venue. But, oh, well, that leads me into my next point. The damage model as well. Absolutely brutal. That 1-0 knock there on the F1 game, nothing. Would make no difference whatsoever. On Automobilista, that's your steering. Completely, as you can see now, swung to one side there. So, obviously, you can disable the damage model if you want to. But yeah, damage model immediately as well. That'll be a tick in the box for Automobilista against a modern F1 game as well. And I must admit, I'm going to say it, I think the graphics as well look slightly better. Now, obviously, Monaco, you know, there's a huge amount of detail that you've got to pick up around this venue. But I think they've done a really, really good job with it. And it does look absolutely fantastic as well. I like the HUD inside this game. You can see, obviously, we've got a Delta up against our last lap, a track map as well. Obviously, RPM, everything damaged, and even lap times as well. And, of course, all of that you can customize inside this game. But I think what we're going to do, I'm going to head to, you know what, we'll do it at Classic Hockenheim, why not, hey? With the modern Formula 1 car, and just kind of see how that thing handles. Now, there's all sorts of other interesting data as well that you can tweak and change inside this game. Of course, you've got the normal stuff, how many laps you want to do with your race. You can also set a custom date for the race, and it'll take real data from that time at that location, and that'll set the weather up for the game. If that isn't the ultimate nerd thing, I don't know what is. But yeah, I think we've got everything pretty much set up. We're going to try and do, I think we're going to do a 5 or 6 lap race around this circuit here today. We're on the 1988 version of Hockenheim. So this should be good fun. Here we are then at Hockenheim, and like I said, you know, this place was absolutely mental back in the day. If you don't know why the original Hockenheim ring got scrapped, you're about to be in for a bit of a lesson, because this place is well and truly mental. But of course, yeah, here we go then on the grid, 15 red lights. Oh, and it's going to be lights out, and away we go now. Obviously, we're running no ABS, no traction control, anything like that in this car. I think I've set the AI to 95, just because I'm not quite sure how everything's going to handle here as well then. But as we make our way instantly out onto one of the back streets, yeah, Automobilista definitely likes to kind of showcase heritage in, you know, he likes to kind of take you back in time, if you will, to some of the classic racing series as well. And of course, as we make our way down in towards that first chicane, you can see big, heavy curbs. Whoa, we've even got a radar relative that I haven't even spotted there. So obviously, when you're near other cars as well, that'll flash up. Don't get that on the F1 game, do we now? A little bit, sadly. I think a radar would be a really welcome addition to F1 24, but clearly, yeah, coders in EA, no interest in implementing that just yet as we make our way down in towards the next chicane. Now, this version of Hockenheim, nearly as long as Spa, almost 7 kilometers long, so it was one of the longest tracks on the F1 calendar, but as you can already see, it's basically just, it is basically Monza. Like, the Hockenheim and Monza were basically the same track back in the day. They were basically just both massive straights with chicanes in them to kind of slow you down-ish. Absolutely ridiculous, and I love it. You know, obviously I get that we can't come back to this version of Hockenheimring anymore, because of course, yeah, the track has been completely overrun by wildlife and things like that nowadays, but, you know, the fact that we've lost even the modern Hockenheim is a little bit of a shame, because obviously this place does have a lot of F1 history as well. There is, oh, you can see how brutal the curbs are. Don't hit the wall. Damn it. I think we might be in trouble. We might have to restart. Now, I understand for many of you, of course, the main reason why you're going to be playing the F1 game is obviously for the career mode and things like that. And, you know, I will give Codemasters credit. Career mode-wise, that game is still very, very good. You know, it's got all those extra finer details that ultimately, you know, any other title can't really add, because obviously they're not an official licensed F1 series or anything like that. But, you know, this is more about, you know, the amount of comments I see on videos from people going, you know, I played iRacing or I played this or that game and I couldn't go back to F1 24 because of just how different the handling model was. That's kind of more where this video is kind of skewed towards, because the handling on some of these other games, it kind of makes you realise just what the F1 game is still lacking. You know, this thing feels dynamic, it feels loose, it feels scary. The F1 games nowadays kind of make Formula cars feel quite easy to drive. And obviously I've never driven one in real life, so I can't say with 100% certainty. But they're definitely not in basically every other game I play, and I kind of quite like that as well. Now, obviously, some of you are going to be in the comments going, yes, but Matt, the F1 game is meant to be accessible for people. And I totally understand that as well. But I've said it for years now. I believe they need 2 handling models on the F1 game. And you should have the option where you can kind of having like a casual handling model, like we've already got. Or give us like a simulation handling model, you know, that is brutal, that is unforgiving. I mean, you can feel all the undulation going through the car. You can feel the suspension working. As this time around, we will actually complete our opening lap. You know, this is kind of what you want to see, because ultimately, you know, it's all well and good getting people in, you know, playing the F1 game and things like that. And I understand, for controller users, this just isn't going to be possible. You know, it isn't going to be particularly enjoyable as well. But, you know, for those, you know, most of the people that are going to be playing the game throughout the entirety of the year are going to be your more hardcore players, are going to be the ones that, you know, that want a more intense experience. Why I love, you know, iRacing and this game and others and things is because when I finish a race, I genuinely feel like I've earned it. And you just don't quite get that same feeling inside the official Formula 1 games at the moment anymore. And, you know, that kind of is a bit of a shame that I wouldn't say they've kind of lost character, because ultimately I'm not really convinced they had that much character to them in the first place. You know, this game just feels special and different and exciting and a little bit odd and a little bit peculiar, and it's great fun and I love it, because, you know, you really do get the sense that everybody working on it, you know, they know exactly what they want to do with this title. They know exactly how they want to make it fun, how they want to make it exciting, and it works so well at the end of the day. I mean, you look through here, obviously I get that the official F1 game, you know, they are restricted by licenses and things like that, but, you know, the fact we've lost classic cars, we've lost, you know, they had classic cars in F1 2013, we've lost all of the short circuits from the games as well that obviously were featured just a couple of years ago. Now, none of the 4 tracks that have the short circuits have come off the calendar. I just think it's a weird little bit of laziness by EA. I mean, even at Bahrain, for example, we had the short circuit that was different to the short circuit that they used IRL. Make that make sense. You know, I want them to kind of push the envelope a bit more, you know, try different things with it, you know, not be afraid to step out of their comfort zone a bit. And, you know, COVID kind of forced their hand with that a little bit. And I think you'd make the argument that, you know, we did a video on it last week. F1 2020 or F1 2021, probably the best F1 games of, you know, the recent, you know, the kind of Xbox One, PS4 era. And we're kind of still in that era now with, you know, the more recent games. Oh, we just run a little bit wide there. Oh, ha! No! Damn it, we're going to be back down to last place. But, you know, as I was saying, we haven't really stepped beyond that yet. And this is the kind of thing they can do if we finally get, like, a new handling model and things like that as well, you know. I don't know how much longer they're expecting to use the Unreal Engine, and it kind of feels like, you know, if F1 24 was half-baked because they want to implement all these features into F1 25, then I can kind of understand it. But it feels like we haven't seen a big enough step forward in the right ways over the last couple of years. And obviously I've spoke about that. You know, all this effort put into F1 World and things like that that no one cares about. You know, when, you know, people are asking for classic cars, classic tracks, you know, just to try different things, you know, bring a proper challenge mode and things like that, you know, with exclusive scenarios and things, and rewards that actually people want to get. You know, F1 24, I remember making a series on F1 23, where we would go through some of, or basically all of them, I think, you know, when EA were giving you exclusive liveries and things like that you could unlock, you know, for different teams and cars and all that kind of thing. Where's that gone inside F1 24? I think we've had a Max Verstappen helmet, and that's been about it. And it's just a bit of a shame that, you know, it kind of all feels a bit lackluster right now, but that's not the point of this video. We're talking about Automobilista 2, and I tell you what, I know James Early's done this with a couple of random series. I am really, really tempted to try and load up some custom career modes on this game. Not necessarily F1. You know, I think James has done IndyCar. I think Gary, although that was on Assetto Corsa, tried to do like an Australian supercar career mode. I want to kind of expand out, you know, branch out into other racing series that aren't F1. You know, do touring cars and Formula E and that kind of thing. And that would probably end up being on Mat 2 and 2 gameplay as well, which I think that, you know, that'd be a really, really fun kind of thing to do. Because, yeah, ultimately, you know, the F1 games, they can, especially with F1 24, because there's such a lack of change in the career mode, you know, between season to season. I get that obviously now, Season 4 is actually delivering quite some intrigue, but it shouldn't take you 4 seasons on an F1 game before things start to get really interesting and a little bit more unpredictable. They're a game at the end of the day. Make it fun, you know. I've said it before. Force Hamilton to Ferrari for Season 2 and things like that. You know, how none of this was really implemented, I will never quite understand there, as, you know, to see there running a little bit wide through Turn 1 and immediately, you know, it punishes you. I was lucky to get that back, and I feel it as well. But, yeah, Automobilista 2, though, this game, like I said, especially when it's on sale on Steam, I cannot recommend it enough. For £17.50 if it goes on half price. Obviously, there's a little bit of DLC, I believe, as well for it. You know, a couple of various packs that obviously, you know, if the Ultimate Edition is on sale or something, then I would maybe consider doing that instead. It is so much fun. So much fun, and just so different, and kind of makes you realise and appreciate, you know, how difficult a Formula 1 car can be, you know, over the curbs and things like that. This thing wants to punish you. You know, when I hopefully get to the end of this lap, even though I'm in last place by quite a while, admittedly, you know, it still is good fun. And obviously, you know, modding support as well on this game. If you have a look on Race Department or whatever it's called now, there are so many mods as well, you know, career mode mods, livery mods, things like that. You know, you can simulate an F1 season and that kind of thing, you know, using various tracks that obviously are in the game as well. And it's just fun. And, you know, on the other side of that, you look at the F1 game this year, they've been even stricter with the EA anti-cheat now, so you can do even less with it. You know, you can't make a custom calendar, you can't force driver moves, you can't even get rid of sprint races. inside F124. It is a real shame, kind of what they've done with the franchise. And look at that! We've even got a cooldown lap. We can do an in-lap inside this game as well, and drive in the pit lane and all that kind of thing. Just various things, you know, little things like that, that F124 doesn't include. I want to take on one more classic car, though. Maybe we'll go back to Monaco. Maybe we'll try somewhere else. Well, here we go then. Last but not least, we are going to be taking effectively the Williams FW14B, one of the most sophisticated Formula 1 cars of all time, to Adelaide of all places. This thing, I mean, it sounds brilliant, doesn't it? All of the cars in this game as well, I'll give them credit, sound absolutely brilliant. And, you know, the level of detail and everything like that, you genuinely get the sense, you know, that everybody working on this game... Whoa! Everyone working on this game might be better at it than I am. That was not good. Maybe a classic 1980s or 1990s career mode is in store at some point in the near future, because I love this era of Formula 1 cars as well. Had I known this game had all this, I probably should have set up my H pattern and my proper steering wheel again, because doing it like this kind of feels like I'm not giving this car the respect it deserves. But yeah, it's just, you know, you've got all these cars in a game that cost half the price of F124. I am trying to work my way around Adelaide as well, because I don't quite know where I'm going. You know, half the price of F124. Whoa! And you get all that level of detail. I need to go back to the drawing board again. Well, all I really want to do is just try and survive a lap now, it would appear, in this car, because it is absolutely brutal. I mean, you can hear it bouncing around over the curve, skidding. I mean, look at the RPM count. It is just dancing around all over the place. This thing is properly on the limit kind of stuff, and I mean, you can tell, you know, why Formula 1 still was so dangerous back in the early 90s, because, you know, how on earth were drivers expected to handle this thing, you know, as well as they did, and yet there they were doing it. Damn, come on, gotta try and make our way out to the back straight there and avoid that brutal curve, and you can just see again, you get the spool up of the turbo there, and it absolutely wants to punish you. Now on to the second of the back streets, we'll let it rip now. I believe, obviously, we've still got this very scary kink halfway down the straight, or have we just gone through it? I think we've just gone through it, haven't we? Yeah. But yeah, breaking down at the 150 meter ball. I mean, this car, these were so light back then, and they feel nimble, they feel agile. There's brilliant footage of Senna going around here. I believe it was in the rain. I think it was his Lotus, so it must have been 1987, I want to say. And it's literally just sideways, absolutely everywhere. You know, if you're not interested in classic F1, I understand how this game might not be for you. But if you've got any appreciation for just how brutal the sport was back in the day, this game, I think, sums it up absolutely perfectly. And of course, the amount of comments I see, you know, people saying, you know, they need to bring back the classic cars to the F1 games as well, you know, respect the history of the sport and everything like that. Well, I think this game does it some justice as well there, and I'm not even really scratched the surface with what is possible inside Automobilista as well there. As I've mentioned in recent videos, I'm trying to just do some different games and things like that on the channel at the moment. Like I said, the interest in F124 is fairly low, so I want to keep providing you guys with various pieces of content as well. So if you've watched this video and you have enjoyed, a sub would really be greatly appreciated. We're trying to hit 140,000 here on the channel as well. Obviously, if you want more sim racing content from me, I actually have another channel where I post up various sim racing content as well, mainly online racing and new content reviews from various sims. There'll be a link to Matsu2 Racing down in the comments below as well. But as we round our way then through the final couple of corners, it's not going to be a fast lap, but hopefully it is going to be a clean one here in this Williams. You know, this video, I better quickly mention as well, not sponsored or anything like that. I just think Automobilista is brilliant fun. And the final corner, we're just about going to survive a lap time here. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll be back very soon with more F1 content.